Excellent! What's up, dudes and dudettes? Today we're reviewing, on its 30th anniversary, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure! Excellent! Okay, I'm gonna stop with that voice here. Yeah, this is a movie I just cannot wait to review for you guys. Of course, it was released February 17th, 1989, today, 30 years ago. Directed by Stephen Herek, who you may know who directed The Mighty Ducks, The Three Musketeers with Chris O'Donnell, Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, and then the live-action 101 Dalmatians. It was written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, who also directed the sequel, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and we'll get into that one later. But these guys, I've heard that they wrote the script kind of just to make themselves laugh, and if they didn't think it was funny, then they weren't going to make it. The cast of this movie includes, of course, Keanu Reeves as Ted Theodore Logan, and Alex Winter as Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and George Carlin as Rufus. And if you don't know who George Carlin is, he is an incredibly well-known comedian. Sadly, he passed away a few years back. But if you ever want to check him out, he's got some of his comedy stuff is on YouTube. I highly recommend you check it out. He was a comedian that was way ahead of its time. Let's get into the plot of this movie here. Bill and Ted are high school buddies starting a band. However, they are about to fail their history class, which means Ted would be sent to military school. They receive help from Rufus, a traveler from a future where their band is the foundation for a perfect society. Yeah. With the use of Rufus's time machine, Bill and Ted travel to various points in history, returning with important figures to help them complete their final history presentation. Now, does that sound like a crazy movie to you? Because it is. Okay, one thing I'll tell you about this movie. You see this right here? This is logic. Throw it out the frickin' window for this movie. Bill and Ted are just really, really two lovable characters. They're very idiotic, but incredibly lovable. And Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter give great performances in this film. And I think this was one of the films that kickstarted Keanu Reeves' career. Alex Winter, he doesn't act much anymore, but he does direct a little bit. But yeah, this film helped kickstart Keanu Reeves' career, and these two just give their all in this movie. They do the best, like, Valley Guy kind of voice, and, like, totally excellent, bogus, heinous, like, all those words that, of course, are from the 80s. And this film is, like, the most 80s film you can ever think of. Like, the whole plot is, like, the whole plot, the characters, everything, it's very, very 80s. And I love it. I just dropped my paper. What else can I say? This, like I said, about logic. This film, you cannot overthink the plot of this film. You cannot overthink what happens at this film. Like, the rules of time travel and Back to the Future do not apply for this movie. Even though Back to the Future, I heard, inspired this movie. So that's pretty cool. One of my favorite movies inspired another one of my favorite movies. But, yeah, this film, you just cannot overthink what's going on. You can't, it's just, rules do not apply in this movie. I gotta point out, I love the historical figures that they brought back in this movie. I loved Napoleon, especially. He had every scene, the guy who played Napoleon, every scene this dude was in, he stealed. The bowling scene, which was freaking hilarious, where he's playing bowling with Ted's younger brother and Ted's younger brother's friends, and he's going up to roll the ball down the alley, and he trips. And he's just so angry, like with that French anger, and he's just yelling. Of course, it's in captions and stuff because he's talking in French. He's like, shit, 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 shit. And I thought, when I was a kid and I saw that, I thought it was freaking hilarious. Actually, like, I think I saw this movie when I was about, was I maybe 10? I was maybe 10 or 11. I might have been 11 when I first saw this, because I think they showed it on Fox Kids, For those of you who don't remember what Fox Kids is, it was a TV network on Fox that was for kids back in the 90s to the late early 2000s. There's a little history lesson for you, since talking about history. But yeah, there's another scene with them in an ice cream parlor, and that's really funny because actually the two writers are actually in that scene. It's called like the Ziggy Piggy, and it's like this huge thing of ice cream. And of course Napoleon doesn't understand what ice cream is, and of course he ends up eating the whole frickin' thing, and he takes a spoon and like he's fighting with one of the girls to get the ice cream. And by the way, sorry, I'm gonna give the shit ton of spoilers in this review because the movie's been out for 30 years. If you haven't seen it, please go out and see it right now, because I'm going to be giving a lot of spoilers. The water slide scene with Napoleon is freaking amazing. Of course, he's scared at first when he's going down the slide, and then it's just laughter. After that, he's like, "Oh, I freaking love water slides!" Like that's automatically his favorite thing in the future is water slides. He freaking loves water slides. And Napoleon, with all the bad things he does, bad thing he did in the past, pretty fun and cool guy in the 80s, Oh man, like there's so many funny things in this film. This film always makes me laugh out loud. It is so good. The historical figures that they bring with them to the future, of course, Joan of Arc, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, Socrates or Socrates, as Bill and Ted call him, Beethoven, or Beethoven, as they call him, Sigmund Freud, or Sigmund Freud, as Bill and Ted call him, Billy the Kid, and Abraham Lincoln. All the people who play the historical figures are pretty funny. They're very enjoyable to watch. Some of my favorite scenes, of course, include the historical figures, like the Mall Mayhem scene is where they bring all the historical figures to the San Dimas Mall, which San Dimas is where Bill and Ted are from, by the way. And the Mall Mayhem scene is basically you have all the historical figures in this mall, and Bill and Ted are like, "Hey, okay, take a look around the mall, see what you think of the future, and come back to us." Neither did these two know that putting like historical figures from the past in like a mall is just gonna be chaotic, especially if you got Genghis Khan and frickin' Joan of Arc and all of them. Like it's gonna be freaking crazy. But like so many things happen in this scene. You have Genghis Khan freaking destroying a sports store and like beating up security guards. You have Socrates, Billy the Kid, and Sigmund Freud trying to hit on girls. You got Abraham Lincoln taking a picture in a booth, and then a guy thinking that he took the hat, the beard on his face was fake, and the hat that he has was like it's one of those like amusement parks where they take the historic, like the old timey pictures. Well, that's what Abraham Lincoln was doing, but the guy thought he stole the stuff. Then you have Beethoven freaking playing a synthesizer, which is awesome, and they have like this cool song playing. I think it's called "Play With Me" by Tool. I know the song's called "Play With Me," but Power Tool. That's what the band's called, and it's a really good song that's played in the background of this scene. Just there's so much crap going on. There's Joan of Arc freaking doing an aerobics class, which was entertaining. But yeah, there's so much stuff going on in that scene. I absolutely love it. You got the jailbreak scene, which is after the mall scene, and that's the scene where kind of Bill and Ted kind of toy with the whole time travel aspect, because the time travel aspect is kind of shown in the film. Like you have them going about like being like Pokemon catchers basically, and catching historical figures. Like there's a whole montage of them gathering together these historical figures. I would have liked if they would have shown more scenes with them in history, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, the jailbreak scene where they go and free all of the historical figures from jail, and they're saying, well, what we should do is like we should steal you, because Ted's dad is like the cop in the town. He's one of the cops in the town, And Ted's like, well, maybe like my dad lost his keys like a while back, and man, I wish we could go back in time and find them, because of course he has the keys to the jail cell and everything. And he's like, oh, dude, why don't we just go back in time before your dad lost the keys? Take them, and we'll like put them somewhere. And he's like, how about behind that sign? And then they go to look behind the sign, and the keys are there. There's a couple of things in there where they write a note to each other, and then the note says duck, and they have to duck. And I love the way they use the time travel aspect in that one scene where they're like, where even Ted like is like, remember a trash can, because their dad's trying to get them to not like leave the jail, and this huge trash can falls on top of Ted's dad, and of course it says Wild Stallions on it, which, if you don't know, Wild Stallions is the band that Bill and Ted are creating. Let's see, another great scene, the medieval time scene, the whole medieval time sequence, freaking loved it. You have Bill and Ted in iron armor suits, pretending like they're Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Then you have freaking Bill and Ted hugging each other, and this is where you can tell the film is pretty dated, is when they hug each other, they automatically let go of each other and are like, fag! Like, that's when the movie you can definitely show that it's old. Like, because nowadays, of course, you wouldn't use that word in the film. You wouldn't act that way. Like, I mean, I still think it's kind of funny, but that's just me. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody there, but I think it's a little funny. Man, the medieval times, just the princesses, because they both fall in love. Bill and Ted both fall in love with these princesses, and it's just the whole medieval time scene is great. You have Socrates, Socrates, and Billy the Kid saving Bill and Ted from being executed, which that's awesome. And just the whole time travel booth thing in that scene is pretty freaking sweet, because they're trying to escape all these knights, and the knight has this like mace thing, he's spinning it, and then they have to quickly time travel, and the booth goes in, and it nearly freaking misses the time booth. It's great. By the way, the time machine in this film is a freaking phone booth, which is definitely a throwback to Doctor Who. I don't know how it couldn't be. It's just it's an American phone booth, and of course the Doctor Who is a police call box. But yeah, the phone booth is definitely a callback to Doctor Who. Let's see, another scene that I liked, this is the History Project scene. Probably one of the best scenes in the movie. Basically the best history project ever given in like history. You just had these people where I guess like the people in the audience, students in the audience probably thought, oh, they're just actors, they're not really the historical figures. And like after their historical project is done, like after they're done doing it, they time travel out of the auditorium, and nobody asked any questions. Nobody was like, what the hell was that? They're like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's awesome. And they're like, we want more. And they have like freaking a rock concert, they have their lighters going around. Like, I love it. Like, especially in the one part where Sigmund, this is one, like, I recently watched the movie, and I'm like, I guess I didn't get that when I was younger, and I was watching the scene with Sigmund Freud, and he's talking to Ted about, like, oh, this is the reason why your dad's so hard on you, and all that, and then Sigmund Freud is like, well, Bill, do you want to try? And Bill's like, nah, I just got a minor Oedipus complex. And I just learned what about the whole Oedipus thing. I just literally dropped my paper again. I just learned what the Oedipus whole complex thing was. You know, the old was it Greek or something? I think it's Greek, where the man is told that he'll marry his mother and kill his father, and of course he does end up doing that, and it's freaking insane. But yeah, I once I heard that in this movie, I thought that made me laugh out loud. Like, I got that joke. There's a couple jokes in this film that I'm like, I didn't get when I was a kid, but then once I watched it as an adult, it was definitely funnier. Like, you laugh as a kid, you're like, oh, that's I don't know how that's funny, but that's funny. And then when you get it as an adult, you're like, oh, I get it. Everybody's been there. Last favorite scene is probably the future scene, where it shows like the great society that will come about because of Bill and Ted's amazing music. And you have these people like wearing sunglasses, and they're wearing all these like futuristic clothes, and they're strumming their guitars. They're strumming their air guitars, which is pretty awesome. And Bill and Ted like think we should say something. And of course, they say, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes. Like, and that's like their saying in the future is it's one of their like calls of peace or something in the future. But yeah, this whole like future society looks freaking like dope in the Bill and Ted movie. But yeah, that future scene, I freaking love that future scene. And one of the lines I think they tell the future people before they leave, they're like, we take you with us, but it's a history project, not a future project. The effects in this movie are a little dated. That's where the movie kind of shows its age a little bit. And of course, like with some of the lines that they say in the movie, that's where it also shows its age. But, yeah, the effects are definitely dated. Like the whole circuits of time that they travel through, that's definitely very dated. The film is definitely a product of its time. It is very 80s, and I love it. I love 80s films. I'm a very big... I wasn't even born in the 80s. Like, my mom always tells me that I should have been a teenager during the 80s because I love the music, I love the movies, I love the style. It's just... Yeah, this movie is definitely a product of its time. It's not a timeless film. But it's one of those films that it's a classic. It's an instant cult classic of a film. I'd say this is a must-watch 80s classic. It is so good. It is so funny. Bill and Ted are just incredibly lovable characters. The whole premise of this film is like out of this world, but it just makes sense in the Bill and Ted universe. Like everything's just topsy-turvy in the Bill and Ted world. This movie also had awesome music, and sadly the soundtrack, you cannot find it on iTunes, but you can listen to it on YouTube. So if you want to check the soundtrack for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure out after this video, I highly recommend it, because the music is very good. What else can I say? This film I gotta give a 5 out of 5. It is a very must-see, like I said, it's a very must-see 80s film. And it is very good, very excellent! So, I hope you guys liked my Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 30th anniversary review. And I hope you guys will be here when I review Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. But my next review coming out tomorrow will be Alita Battle Angel, which I'm highly looking forward to. So make sure to be on the lookout for that tomorrow. So yeah, as Bill and Ted said in this film, be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!